What's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today we're coming back for another episode of the Fight IQ show. What did you guys think about the big winners from last weekend? Tell me in the comments which fighters stood out in your opinion. Now it's time for a weekend preview. I took a good look on this coming weekend's fight cards. A lot of events, so choices have to be made. We have some boxing, kickboxing and MMA all over the globe. I picked 3 fights which I think will be really close and will hype you the fuck up. After that, I'll mention some other good matchups if you guys are hungry for more. So let's get ready to rumble! On my menu there will be the Bellator Champions Series in Paris on Friday 17th, LFA 184 in Commerce, California on Friday 17th, Glory 92 in Rotterdam on Saturday 18th, the Navarette vs Berinchyk boxing event in San Diego on Saturday 18th, Fury vs Usyk boxing event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday 18th, and the UFC Fight Night in Vegas on Saturday 18th. Number 3, I picked Cordina vs Anthony Cacace. It's on the main card of Fury vs Usyk in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday 18th. It's for the IBF and IBO World Super Featherweight titles. You might have missed it, hidden in all the good fights that are happening this weekend, but you cannot miss this one. Cordina is 32 years old, 17-0, 9 wins by way of knockouts. He's the current IBF World Super Featherweight Champion. This guy is a sniper. He's passionately looking for openings and then hitting fast and with power. When he knows you're hurt, there's no way he's gonna leave you alone. He will accelerate, put pressure on you until you cannot take it anymore. He got his title by knocking Kenichi Ogawa out in the second round in front of his home crowd of Cardiff in June of 2022. Since then, he defended it twice, a split decision win versus Shavkat Rakimov in April of 2023, and a majority decision versus Edward Vasquez last November. He will now try to keep his belt and add another to his collection by facing Anthony Cacace. The Apache, 35 years old, 21-1, 7 wins by way of knockouts. Is the current IBO World Super Featherweight Champion. He has a long reach and he uses it perfectly to counter his opponents with looping right hand, left hooks or uppercuts. He's also able to switch stances and he will not hesitate to use that to confuse his opponents. Like Cordina, he also accelerates as soon as he feels that he hurt you, even though sometimes he lowers his guard too much. He got his title by beating Michael Magnesi by split decision in September of 2022, even though it should have been unanimous in my opinion, and he defended it successfully versus Damian Resinski in 12 rounds last May. Now there's an opportunity for him to become a unified champion as well, but it won't be an easy task. Cordina is a heavy favorite due to the level of opposition he faced, his unbeaten record and his more technical style. But I see that fight being closer than it seems. I think the reach of Cacace will cause some issues to Cordina. His ability to counter fast too. I think it will go 12 rounds, that Cordina will get it, but it will be tough. Number 2, Edson Barboza vs Leron Murphy, main event of the UFC Fight Night in Vegas on Saturday 18th. The classic veteran versus newcomer matchup. Edson Barboza is 38 years old, 24-11, 13 KOs. He's at the UFC since 2010, he has 29 fights there and some highlight reel knockouts. He started as a lightweight but transitioned to featherweight in 2020, losing his first fight versus Dan Ige. But since then he's 4-2, losing to Giga Chikadze and Bryce Mitchell, but winning versus Billy Quarantillo and Shane Burgos with beautiful knockouts. And most recently he had a great performance versus Sodiq Yusuf, almost getting knocked out in the first round and ending up with the win by unanimous decision. That showed that you can never count him out. He will now face somebody that really would like to get his spot in the rankings, Leron Murphy. The British is 32 years old, 13 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 7 wins by way of knockouts. He entered the UFC in 2019, starting with a draw versus Tukugov, but since then 5 fights, 5 wins, including 2 finishes versus Ricardo Ramos and Makwan Amirkhani. It should be a fun matchup between 2 KO artists. Murphy will have the power advantage in my opinion, but I'm not sure that he will be so much faster than Edson Barboza. Indeed, the Brazilian is still crisp, he doesn't seem to age like us, and is incredibly resilient like he proved in his last performance. My heart actually wants to go with him, and for sure it will be a close fight, but I do think that Murphy will get that one. He shows a lot of progress after each performance, he is durable, and I think he will catch Barboza in the chin at some point, knocking him out during a wild exchange. And number 1, Tyson Fury vs Alexander Usyk, main event of the boxing card with the same name in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday 18th. That's for the undisputed heavyweight championship. How could this fight not be my number 1? Since Lennox Lewis in 1999 we didn't have a heavyweight detaining all the belts. And at the time there were only 3. Now we have 5 belts on the line. The other side is 2 of the most intelligent boxers facing each other, both undefeated. I don't think it's necessary to present their whole resumes. I already talked a lot about them before, so let's just talk about their skills. Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, 35 years old, 34 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 24 wins by KOs. One of the most unorthodox fighters you ever saw, and one of the strongest will in the game. Current WBC heavyweight world champion after beating Deontay Wilder by KO twice. Fury is known for his amazing speed, his great head movement and defense, and the use of his long reach to set up his powerful right hand. He has beaten the best in this weight class: Klitschko, Wilder, White, Chisora. He is impossible to knock out. Let's also scratch the fight with Ngannou from his record. He didn't take it seriously, he didn't prepare like he would have against any other pro boxer. That's why Ngannou, who did prepare like the pro he is, was able to cause him some problems. Now Fury will face the most technical opponent of his career, Alexander Usyk. Usyk is 37 years old, 21-0, 14 wins by way of knockouts. He is the current WBO, WBA, IBO, and IBF World Heavyweight Champion, former IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO World Cruiserweight Champion, and former Olympic gold medalist in 2012. I'd like to see his trophy rack. He's a southpaw. He has a great jab that he uses perfectly to harass his opponent and set up his left hand. Like a lot of boxers from Eastern Europe, he has strong fundamentals, really tight guard, and beautiful footwork and movement. All these qualities made him capable to transition to heavyweight, despite the fact that he's smaller than most of the other fighters from this weight class. He really fights smart to avoid taking damages, and he sets his game plan on 12 rounds, like he did versus Chisora and Anthony Joshua twice. His last fight was versus Daniel Dubois in August from last year, where he won via KO in the 9th round. Even though Usyk won, Dubois showed that the Ukrainian could be hurt with body shots. Now, I have absolutely no idea who is going to take that fight. I love both athletes, their styles, their personalities. I give a really tiny edge to Usyk because of his capacity to adapt to every opponent that he faced and his discipline. There are so many fights that are worth it this weekend. At Bellator, there will be Patchy Mix versus Magomed Magomedov for the bantamweight title, a rematch and a first defense for Patchy Mix. Cedric Doumbé will fight in the co-main event versus Jalil Willis to please the French crowd. I'm curious to see how he will bounce back from his last performance versus Baki. Nice main event at LFA 184. Ozzy Diaz will fight versus the former UFC fighter Bevon Lewis, and also some prospects to keep your eyes on: Cody Davis and Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani. Glory Middleweight Championship on the line at Glory 92 in Rotterdam. One of the most skilled fighters from the Glory roster, Donovan Visser, will defend his belt versus the tough Yorick Bukeme. Emmanuel Navarette will face Dennis Berinchyk for the vacant WBO World Lightweight title. Such an exciting fight, I was really close to put it in my top 3, and for sure I'll be watching. Some nice prospect on this card too: Giovanni Santillan, Richard Torres Jr. and Alan Garcia, some names that you might see fighting for a belt soon enough. At UFC Fight Night, keep an eye on the new French prospect Oumar Sy, who will face Tuco Tokos in the prelims. Veteran Angela Hill will face Juana Pinheiro at strawweight, and Yanez will try to come back in the win column versus Vinicius Salvador. On Fury versus Usyk, plenty of good boxing fights. Sergey Kovalev comes out of retirement to face Robin Safar. Jay Opetea will face Maris Bridis for the IBF World Cruiserweight title. Heavyweight clash between Frank Sanchez and Agit Kabayel. And young Moses Itoma will face Ilya Menzenchev for the WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight title. Of course, that's a quick list that I did, and there are much more good fights and events. UAE Warriors has a double event on Friday and Saturday, ACA 175, Road to UFC Season 3, with Asia top prospects trying to get their tickets to the big league, UWC 53 in Tijuana, Mexico, One Friday Fights 63 for the Muay Thai lovers, and the list goes on. And we done here. Now you guys know what to watch this weekend. As usual, punch those like and subscribe buttons. Go hit the comments, go on Discord, on Telegram, Instagram, whatever you're on. Hit me with your thoughts and your picks on the coming matchups. Enjoy the fights, I'll see you next week.
Let me, man's gal wanna come undress me. Swing with the right, but I might go lefty. I made plus with it, so don't test me. They wouldn't let me. Man's gal wanna come undress